Hey, my name's Jack and I'm passionate about ultra learning and living it as a lifestyle. If you're eager to pick up a new skill or fancy learning something new, this video is for you, as I'll be sharing my own experiences in pursuing such an endeavour. So let's jump into it. In today's video, I'll be speaking about how it felt to complete the first course of my ultra learning project, along with how I intend to approach the next one. So yeah, this video is quite a special video because it marks a milestone in the project itself. I've recently just finished the first course of the project, a course about business statistics and analysis. And I have to be honest, I didn't really feel how I expected to feel upon finishing the project. I expected to feel very joyful, very happy with finishing the first course. But in all honesty, that wasn't true at all. I actually felt quite eager to move on and also felt quite disappointed with achieving the results. And it led me to think, why was this? The first thoughts that came to mind essentially were the stories that we hear about, the athletes that want to become a gold medalist or set a new world record or become a world champion in their domain. And they do all this hard work, always focused on this objective, and then they get what they want, and then they end up feeling quite miserable after. It didn't really match their expectations. So I think fundamentally what happened here was the expectations of how I felt, or the expectations of how I thought I would feel upon finishing this course did not match my actual experience in reality. And this led me to think about, why did this happen? How could I avoid this? How could you avoid this if you decide to pursue your own project? And I think it's quite simple, and what I'm going to say is not very original, but I think it's very much true. I think that when we always focus on the outcome, we cannot really, or rather we fail to enjoy the process of working towards the outcome itself. And we actually believe that we're going to derive a lot more joy from the result itself, rather than the process of becoming the person we need to become to achieve the goal itself. So more concretely, what could you do to solve this problem? I think if you just try and live more presently, you can do this through means of meditation, or some breathing exercises, or going for a nice walk, or practicing mindfulness. If you incorporate that into your life, I think it's very much easier to remain present and to stop focusing on the future and instead just focus on the task at hand. And I think, rationally speaking, if you set the goal and incorporate a sort of feedback system where you're able to review how your strategy is going and how your work is going to pivot when required, you can still very much live day by day and actually just enjoy the process of learning in the moment. And inevitably, if you're doing those things, you'll eventually achieve the goal anyway. And I think by taking that approach, you can actually just derive a lot more joy from the process itself, instead of believing that all the joy you're going to experience comes from achieving the result that you desire to achieve. And that was the key takeaway here for me. Naturally, completing this course will mean that I'm going to start another course. So what course am I going to be starting next? And you're going to be surprised by my answer, guys, but please just allow me to explain the logic behind this choice. So I'm actually going to be learning about single variable calculus. This is a course offered by MIT on their OpenCourseWare platform, completely free, has all the resources I need to learn this topic. And I know what you're thinking, maths? Jack, why are you learning about maths? You're supposed to be learning about business. But the logic behind this decision is very simple to explain. So a huge part of most MBA programs offered by the different universities worldwide requires a student to actually learn about economics, both micro and macro economics. And when I was doing the research to prepare for my own ultra learning project, the course offered by MIT on microeconomics advised the student to actually learn about single variable calculus first in order to prepare them for the microeconomics course. So that's why I'm studying single variable calculus. In terms of how I'm actually going to study this course, it's going to be slightly different to how I approached the previous one. So the first reason for this is because the course is offered by a university itself, rather than Coursera, which is a business that primarily designs courses targeted to students who are learning by themselves and want to acquire a new skill, or learn about a new topic. So typically in this scenario, from my experience, the courses are highly specific and tailored to that kind of student. So in other words, when they make the lecture content, it's usually shorter videos, and in the videos themselves, they make it very clear, they spell it out, what the student needs to learn about. So it's a lot easier to learn the new thing that the person is wanting to learn. On the other hand, the courses offered by MIT are taught in very much the same way as a university course. So for anybody who is listening to this video who may not have gone to university, what this means is that the videos, the lectures in this case, are long form. They're an hour long, perhaps an hour 30, which means there's a lot more emphasis on the student identifying what they need to learn and then learning it themselves, which is good. It's a new challenge for me. So that's one reason why the approach is going to be different. So how does it differ? So because of this, I'm choosing to use a different note-taking method. In the Coursera course, I was primarily using my notepad and writing down questions that I was going to answer. So for example, if I was learning about the normal distribution and I was first introduced to it, I would write down the question, what is a normal distribution? And then after the lesson, I would upload that to my Anki deck for that course, and then I would memorize it and teach it to myself. In this case, I'm not going to rely on that too much. I'm still going to use memorization, of course, but in a different way. So primarily what I'm going to do, this course has problem sets, lecture videos, and then worked examples and exams. So essentially, at the start of each unit, I'm going to look at the problem set to prime my brain for the problems that I'm going to solve. I'm then going to watch the lecture video and then answer any worked examples. These are just problems related to the content spoken about in the video to consolidate my knowledge. And then after each video, I will make flashcards based on my notes. And in this scenario, I'm going to use a different note-taking method. I'm actually going to use the Cornell note-taking method. I'm going to put a link to a video which will explain that in more detail, but to summarize, the Cornell note-taking method, it's quite simple to explain actually, is you essentially take your page on your notepad and you split it into 3 sections. The bottom section is the summary, that you're going to write something that summarizes the main idea of the lecture that you're studying. On the left-hand side of the page, you're going to write questions similar to the questions that I spoke about before, but these questions will be based on the final section, which is going to be the main note. So maybe I'm learning about how the geometric interpretation of the derivative is defined. Maybe I'm writing about that, and then I can write questions that I can then use to then make me think and then thus memorize later on the content that I'm learning about, and then following that process. And in terms of meta-learning techniques, mathematics is one of those subjects where you need to solve a lot of the problems that require you to implement the knowledge related to the problem itself. That's a huge part of the learning process. So the course seems to be doing a really good job of this because there's a lot of problems to solve in each lecture. In addition to that, there's a problem set at the end of each unit, and then there's an exam for the end of the entire unit itself, along with a final exam at the end of all these units, which you will see more of soon. So that's kind of the overall plan. It's still experimental. From my experience doing the first course, it's good just to get stuck in and then reflect, pivot, and then change the way that I'm doing things if it's not working out. And that's what I actually intend to do here as well. Which brings me to another important point. I've realized throughout my journey so far that although these videos, I try and give a very clear explanation as to what I'm working on and my approach and all similar ideas to those, it must be quite hard to actually really understand what it is that I'm doing. So for that reason, I thought it would be a really good idea to create a Notion page or a website in Notion where I could write all the details as to what I'm working on, where you can find the same information, and how effective my approach was. So in essence, just to track everything that's going on and to share the details of my approach and what I've learned along the way, all in one place. Because I found in the videos, it's very hard to address all the details because there's so much to speak about, and I kind of have to focus on the main points. So if you really want the bigger picture, the full picture, then you can go ahead and go to this Notion page when it's built. So yeah, it hasn't been built yet. I came across a really interesting video that Thomas Frank created. He essentially is going to teach any of the people who watch the video how to create their own Notion website page. So I'm going to go ahead and just experiment with that and see how it goes. So guys, just to recap here, the key takeaway from this video is to focus less on the outcome and instead focus more on the process. Because doing things this way, you'll ultimately enjoy yourself even more so as you continue to grow and improve. As always, thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe below. And if you're new to my channel and you would like to learn more about my project, please click the link here where you can find out more information.